Welcome to the PharmaVOICE 100 one-on-one video series with Taryn Groen.
Amy, congratulations on being named to the 2020 PharmaVOICE 100.
Thank you. It's very, very exciting. Thanks.
And thank you for joining us for our 24-hour celebration marathon.
I knew this was going to be spectacular. You always go big, Taryn. It's really exciting to see it happen.
Well, you know what they say, go big or go home, and we're staying, so we're going big.
Here, right.
Amy, we have a shared passion for the Healthcare Business Women's Association. And as a leader within the HBA, tell me about ways you think companies can best address the issue of the gender gap.
Taryn, that's a great question. And I would say probably the first way that we can start to address this is to stop treating this as a women's issue. For years, we've had these women's ERG groups and women's leadership initiatives, which were a great first step. But what we were doing for many years is really bringing women together to talk to other women about what it's like to be a woman, right, at that company and how those women could change, right? Conversations about how to lean in, how to self-advocate better, what women can do to find better sponsors or mentors and take more responsibility for their advancement. And what we're finding is that approach really isn't working because this isn't a woman's issue. And so one of the things that companies can do to really make a difference, as I mentioned, just stop thinking of it as a women's issue, bring men and women together, not so much to focus on getting women to change, but about removing some of the obstacles in the environment and the systemic processes that are inherent in some of our organizations that are keeping women and preventing us from finding some of these new opportunities. So taking more of a collaborative approach, really focusing on how the organization can evolve rather than focusing on how women themselves can change. Does that make sense?
Well said. Thank you so much. Yes, that's great. I also know that you have a real passion and have an expertise in this digital space. Talk to me about where you see some of these opportunities or some of the greatest opportunities are for digital disruption as we go forward.
Right, it's funny, Taryn, we've been talking about digital disruption now for years, right? This has been a buzzword probably for at least 5 years now. But I don't think any of us could have really predicted what digital disruption really looks like until 2020 hit, and we're trying to talk about digital disruption in the middle of wide-scale disruption in the middle of a pandemic. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're really at the very early stages of probably really figuring out what digital disruption really means. And I see a couple things that are in terms of how we've had to change just through some of the changes, right, with rep access in terms of how do brands now engage with physicians and ensure that they have the information that they need to provide strong outcomes and care plans for their patients. How are physicians and patients able to now engage through these new platforms like telehealth, right? So clearly telehealth will be one of our major disruptive factors. We're seeing new players enter the market. There's so much room really to re-envision what that customer experience looks like. Again, whether you're looking at the interaction between a physician and their patient or a caregiver, or brands and how they communicate with specifically with their physicians or HCPs. So the two big things that I think really are where we're going to see, I think we're finally going to be forced to really look at how we can use data to help capitalize on the full potential of some of these digital or virtual technologies. So for years, we've been capturing data, we've been providing information about physician engagement, but honestly, there wasn't, I don't think, really a deep focus on understanding and activating that data and making it actionable to create a true engagement and intimacy. So I think we're seeing a real pressure for not just collecting data, but understanding it and using it to create better experiences. And somewhere in that realm, definitely with telehealth, but I think overall engagement as well, and on a larger scale, I think that's where we're going to see some really innovative performers come out on top is when this is done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us, and thank you for sharing your great insights. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
For more PharmaVOICE 100 content, visit www.pharmavoice100.com.